it's Anna, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a wrap up of the books that I read during Dewey's 24-hour readathon over the weekend. Completely wiped me out, honestly, even though I did actually sleep. So let's just get to it. The first book I read was Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. It also has a short story in the back called Moonlight Shadow, and both stories look at the issues sort of surrounding loss and family and transsexuality in Japan. And it's pretty astonishing considering this was first published in 1987, I believe. So Kitchen itself is about a girl called Sakurai Mikage. Mikage's grandmother has just died and now she's alone in the world. Her grandmother raised her from when she was very, very young, so she has no living relatives anymore. So she's about 20, and basically she has trouble coping with the loss of her grandmother, and the only place that she can sleep or find any sort of peace is in the kitchen. But she needs to move out of her flat because it's too expensive and too big for one person on their own. And she's very lucky in that one day a boy called Yuichi comes to her door and says, "Come over." She gets there and Yuichi and his mother Eriko, who is a transgender woman, invite her to live with them while she gets back on her feet. It's kind of hard to describe Kitchen. Kitchen is a quiet sort of novel. It's like a reflection on loss and learning how to live again after you lose somebody that important to you. And Mikage is particularly lucky in that Yuichi and Eriko end up becoming kind of like a new family, one that she's sort of found. And like not a lot happens as such. It's not a epic sweeping adventure or anything. It's just about everyday life, and I think that's what resonates with me. I give Kitchen 5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend it for anyone who is interested in Japanese literature. It's not very long. It's pretty easy to read. The translation is pretty decent as well. The short story, Moonlight Shadow, is about a girl called Sakiko who loses her boyfriend Hitoshi. They've been together for 4 years and they're madly in love still. It's the immediate aftermath following the death of Hitoshi, and it's got elements of probably what you'd call magical realism. Hitoshi's brother also lost his girlfriend in the same accident, and to cope with his loss he has started dressing in his girlfriend's sailor school uniform. And the two, Hirage, which is the brother, and Sakiko meet, and they're each other's anchor in this sort of period of loss. Yeah, because it's so short I don't really want to give anything away, but it's a lovely little story. It really resonates with me. I think that the translation was done so beautifully, and it just, I have read the original of Moonlight Shadow in Japanese slowly with a dictionary, but it really captures what the author intended. So the translator's done a fabulous job. Again, I give that 5 out of 5 stars too, so give it a go if you're interested in Japanese literature, I guess. The second book I read was a children's book. It's a reread. I read it as a child. It's called Cat Witch by Lisa Tuttle with illustrations by Una Woodruff. Beautiful illustrations. So the story is about this cat called Jules, who leaves his farm as a kitten because he wants to have adventures. He doesn't want to wind up being a pampered house cat. And he ends up finding a woman called Eva, who happens to be a witch. When Jules turns up at her door, she takes him in and makes him a cat witch, her familiar, so he can help her cast this great spell, is what it's called. And they have a little problem in the form of the bad guy called Alexander Wiley, who owns Eva's cottage and has turned up again after 20 years and wants the rent. He's also now a wizard. So, antics ensue. This story is really about following your dreams. But it's a cute book. It's not hugely long. You can read it an hour or so, maybe. So, yep, recommend it. I'd say 4 out of 5 stars because, yeah, it's not quite how I remembered it. But it's still wonderful, so give it a go. Next book I read was the first volume of a manga called Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I have the entire series and it's another reread, but I wanted to revisit it. Basically, this is our main character, Toru Honda, and she lost her mother a few years ago and she's been living with her grandfather. And her grandfather has asked her to move out of the house for a little while so it can be renovated. Toru, not wanting to cause any trouble for her friends, decides to camp out in a tent. Because that's the kind of girl she is. Anyway, turns out she's camping on somebody else's land, and it belongs to the Solma family. And she ends up finding out the family secret, which is that about 12-ish members are possessed by the animal spirits of the Chinese zodiac. When they get hugged by the opposite sex, which is extremely specific, they turn into their animal form. This is the beginning of a 20-volume series, which is about, all volumes are about this big. And I love it because it is complex and the characters actually have a lot of depth. I like the plot. I was really talking about the whole series now. It was really, really solid. But it's the characters that really make this manga series one of the best that I've ever read. The actual art changes a little bit as the series progresses. Gets a little bit less rigid and sharp. It becomes a bit softer, which is lovely. I'm so glad it did. So yeah, 5 out of 5. But I might be biased because I love it. The next book I read but didn't finish because there wasn't enough time was a book called Tough Mothers by Jason Porath. It's the second in a sort of series. It basically has short biographies of matriarchs throughout history, whether they're an actual mother of like a human being, or if they're just like a mother in the sense of like mother of the lumpectomy is one of them. A fabulous woman whose name I can't remember right now, but she advocated for women to have lumpectomies as opposed to like a full double mastectomy if they had breast cancer. But yeah, nobody listened to her. It took like a decade for them to go, oh, she might have a point there. Don't mess with mums is the takeaway message of this book. It also has artists and revolutionaries and all sorts of people. It's fabulous. I haven't finished it, but I loved the first book, Rejected Princesses, which is based on a website, rejectedprincesses.com, so go check that out because it's awesome. I love the first book, and this one hasn't let me down. It's got, you know, pretty cool illustrations by the author as well, so that's a plus. Yeah, I tentatively give it 5 out of 5 stars because I expect it will be wonderful. I then had a break from that because I couldn't keep going, and I read the latest issue of Womankind Magazine, issue 16. It's an ad-free women's magazine that's based in Australia, but it's what I love about it is it has articles that are educational and thought-provoking, and they have global relevance, so it's not just for Australian women, it's for women everywhere. In this particular issue, a lot of focus has been on Iceland, which I believe has the highest level of gender equality in the world. They had the first female head of state in the world, which is awesome. They even have an interview with that woman, which is wow. Every issue they have gorgeous photography and art and poetry and quotes, and they have articles about psychology and well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being. They have articles and activities and stuff that they suggest to help with creativity. Every month they also have a challenge. In this one it's a smartphone challenge, which is to not use your smartphone and write a reflection about how that went. Fabulous read if you're interested. Yeah, I think the website is womankindmag.com, so if you're interested, go have a look. There are a lot of articles that are actually on the website as well, if you don't want to actually purchase the magazine. So finally, I also read about 90, 100 or something pages of Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett, which is part of the Discworld series, which apparently has like 41 novels. That is very prolific. The premise is that on the Discworld, death is personified and is a skeleton with a scythe and a horse. And basically there are these creatures that they call auditors of reality, and they're not very happy that Death has gone and got himself a personality. I find Death quite amusing. He also featured in, I think, the 3rd book of the Discworld series, called Mort, which was also fabulous. So yes, Death then has his own, hourglass that's sort of counting down his time, and he decides to go off and live for whatever time he's got left. So, yeah, I think he ends up on a farm and makes friends with an old lady. Because why not? There's also a secondary plot happening regarding a very old wizard who is meant to die, but doesn't get to because death disappears, and his name is Windlepoons. So basically he becomes a zombie until a new death is imagined. So, awesome book. I've previously given it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm not going to change it now. So, yeah, even though it's part of a series, I think that it can be read on its own. But I would suggest reading Mort first, so you actually have a bit of an idea about death as a character. So, 5 out of 5. Give it a go. If you've never tried Terry Pratchett, read Mort first. So, subscribe below, hit the bell if you want to get notifications, like the video if you actually liked it, and yeah, hope to see you again. Thanks for watching.